Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
Hello, Dodgers fans. Welcome in to DodgerHeads presented by Dodger Blue. I'm Trevor Lane filling in over here on the other side, our sister side here, joined by Matthew Moreno. We've got a little bit of news here to talk about. An absurd, surreal situation going on in Major League Baseball. Matt, what's the latest here? Shohei Ohtanis and this crazy, twisting, twirling story about his interpreter.
Yeah, well, first, Trevor, a big thank you to you for hosting this for us. Unfortunately, Blake's on his way back from Korea. Jeff is out of town. The rest of our staff is sort of not available right now. And so I was in a pinch. I was like, okay, do I bore our audience with just me or do I call Trevor? Fortunately, Trevor was there to answer the bell for us. And I see the chat. People are happy to see you over here on this side. And that's great. We always love to see support for Lakers Nation and Dodger Blue. So it's nice that we are sharing a little bit of an audience here.
That's right. So it's a little crossover that we've got going here. And as one comment says, I don't blame Trevor for taking a break from the Lakers. That's another story. I feel like, though, it's right from one hot seat with the Lakers and everything that's been going on with them into another now with this potentially dire Dodgers situation. But no, happy to hop on here and try my hand at a little baseball here. So I appreciate you inviting me on. Yeah,
no, of course, anytime. And back to the question that you posed. Yes, obviously, if anybody's been following since Wednesday, Shohei Ohtanis and his interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, have been tied to some illegal gambling activity allegations. And unfortunately, it appears that some of Ohtani's money and at the very least his bank account was used to pay Ippei's gambling debt. And so MLB today launched that they said, quote, Major League Baseball has been gathering information since we learned about the allegations involving Shohei Ohtanis and Ippei Mizuhara from the news media. Earlier today, our Department of Investigations began their formal process investigating the matter, end quote. Basically, it's all that is saying is MLB is looking into what's everybody else has been reading about on LA Times, ESPN, and their reporting. And certainly it was, I've seen a lot of the reaction. There's a little bit of cause for concern and that it's warranted, but also this was a formality for MLB. Anytime a player of theirs is involved in any sort of scandal or, potentially legal situation, MLB does their own due diligence as well, just to kind of see, what's been going on. And so I don't think there's reason to overreact, even though we are seeing some of that in the chat so far. But, there's still plenty to sort of uncover in this complicated situation.
So I know part of the concern here is exactly what role did Shohei Ohtanis have in this whole situation? Was he involved in any kind of gambling aspect? Because that is a completely different story than he was the victim here of potential theft or something like that. How do you see this all playing out right now? And is there any suspicion that Ohtani actually had some direct involvement with this?
Yeah, so fortunately for the Dodgers' sake and Ohtani's also, all signs are pointing to he did not place any of the bets, that he wasn't involved. So as of now, it appears that, the furthest extent of his involvement was potentially agreeing to cover Ippei's gambling debts at a certain point. Now, even that story and notion has been backtracked. Ohtani's spokesperson for Ohtani initially told ESPN that all he had done was agreed to help out a friend. That was corroborated by Ippei. But then in a subsequent interview the next day, right as ESPN was ready to publish their article about this, Ohtani's spokesperson, and Ippei both backtracked on that story and said, no, Ohtani actually didn't know about anything. Since then, it has also been reported that Ippei addressed the Dodgers clubhouse after their game on opening day out in South Korea to let them know, hey, this story was going to be coming out. I've been gambling. This is the problem. And it was at that point that, sources are saying that Ohtani started asking questions and really understood kind of the gravity of the situation. So assuming that continues to hold true, maybe at worst MLB fines Ohtani for his bank account being used to pay, some illegally gambling activities. I don't think he'll get away completely scot-free, but I don't think we're looking at like a Pete Rose situation.
Could this mean, for the Dodgers this season, let's say it's his involvement is the lowest level, he wasn't aware, and this is just there's sometimes you can still be punished for being negligent in a situation, for just not paying enough attention to what's going on or not having firm control of his finances in this case. Could there be a threat of missed games here, or are we talking just a financial penalty towards Ohtani if MLB does not like or come down not in favor of his involvement here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that technically is possible. MLB certainly would have the authority to impose some sort of suspension. And I think another interesting layer to that as well is typically, from a Dodgers standpoint, we've been accustomed to when MLB starts an investigation into a player, unfortunately, it's involved domestic violence and sexual assault allegations. Yeah. And so those players have been put on administrative leave and have not been eligible to play. That isn't the case with Ohtani right now. I don't know if maybe, as MLB is in the early stages of gathering their information, if they find something that they think warrants maybe Ohtani going on the restricted list for now, then that'll count. It's not a suspension, but he certainly won't be available to play games. Now, the schedule is kind of working in the Dodgers' favor right now because they just finished playing in South Korea. They have a couple days off before the exhibition freeway series against the Angels. And then opening day now back at home isn't until March 28th. And so, maybe MLB finds enough to at least say, hey, we're comfortable with Ohtani to continue playing and be active.
Well, okay, so obviously that would be an ideal situation. And by the way, the coverage from Dodger Blue during the series in Korea was absolutely fantastic. Those of you who are joining the show live right now, if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you check it out here on the Dodger Blue YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications as well, because they've got some top-notch stuff coming out here. Nobody's doing it like the guys here at Dodger Blue are. They're doing a phenomenal job. I've got an interesting comment that's coming in here right now. Am I reading wrong, or was it implied that Ippei wasn't translating things right on purpose? See, that's a whole other layer to this, that when I was looking into this, I started wondering the same thing. What was any of this potentially lost in translation? Could that be part of this whole story?
Yeah, I think there's a chance that it could be Ippei. I believe in ESPN, and I'm forgetting her name. It might be Tisha. I don't want to mess it up. But ESPN's lead investigative reporter, who's been on top of all this, in her article, I'm fairly certain that question was posed to Ippei, and he denied translating incorrectly or being misleading with it. I think it is a reasonable question. I don't know if I don't want to say that Ippei would lie or wouldn't lie, but is he inclined to come out and say right now, oh, actually, yes, this entire time I've been telling Ohtani that it was, I've been translating something incorrectly. And I think that potential also ties back to kind of my point earlier with Ippei and Ohtani's spokesperson, their story sort of changing. Like, when this matter was brought to Ohtani's representatives, did they go to Ippei and say, hey, what's going on? Ask Ohtani about this, this, and this. And was there a breakdown in how things were translating? And at that point, maybe the spokesperson doesn't have reason to be suspicious of Ippei. And so they go out and say, yes, Ohtani agreed to pay his friend's debt to help him out. Because that's another layer to this too. Yeah. Ippei's official title is, he's a translator. He's an interpreter for Ohtani. He helps him connect with media, not so much with teammates, because I think Ohtani is comfortable enough in that space to be able to do it on his own. But they're also very close friends. And that dates back to Ohtani's rookie season with the Angels. Ippei has been his interpreter since he came over to Major League Baseball. And their friendship has been well documented. Anytime you see a shot of Ohtani, whether it's a picture or video, Ippei is right there every single time. And so that's another unfortunate layer to all this, is not only was Ohtani's, money potentially stolen, but it was also a close friend who possibly betrayed him.
Right. And that's another part of this that, it could add to the tragic element here. This is a good question. Kevin said with the super chat, we appreciate that, said, if Ohtani is banned or suspended, is the contract voided? Now, most of my salary cap and sports contract knowledge falls in the NBA realm. And we know that sometimes if a player violates their contract, the team can push to get the contract voided. I remember way back in the day, Vlad Radmanovic went snowboarding when he was not supposed to. And there are all these questions. Will the Lakers really void his contract? All that kind of stuff. It can happen. It usually doesn't. How does it work for MLB?
Yeah, so if Ohtani were to be suspended, it would be without pay, and so that's that front. Now, if it's kind of nuclear, Ohtani was betting himself.
Yeah.
He's being banned from baseball at that point, and so yes, the Dodgers would be off the hook. And I guess from a financial standpoint, that's certainly it would be helpful. But if Ohtani is being banned for any reason, that the Dodgers have much greater concerns than the money that they were going to potentially owe him.
Is that where this goes? Again, like if we're talking nuclear option, worst of the worst, he knew what was taking place. He had some kind of involvement in gambling. He had his hand in this. Is that we're Pete Rose territory? That's instant ban. He's done.
I think if Ohtani was betting himself, then certainly yes. He's like that. MLB's not going to necessarily look past that. Like you can't. Like that would be pretty significant. As much as we were talking before we started this, sports and sports gambling and betting has kind of become sort of one and the same more recently as it's become, in California, which obviously where the Ohtani has been and where the Dodgers are, it's not legal yet.
Yeah.
And so that's another complicating factor. But yeah, if it's discovered that Ohtani, was betting himself, then yes, that he's pretty much going to be gone from baseball, would be my guess.
I wonder, would it matter if it was a different sport that was being bet on? If these were NFL bets, if that would be a factor in anything like that, or if it has to be specifically on baseball?
Yeah, I think if it's other sports, then maybe he doesn't necessarily face a lifetime ban at that point. But I'm not sure. I mean, I think ESPN would. Excuse me, ESPN. Look, I'm mixing up who's involved here because of everything. I think MLB would still take a pretty strong look at what happened and what kind of precedent they want to set. And it's Ohtani is not only the face of he's a global athlete. Like he's transcendent. He's beyond just Major League Baseball. And so that's another thing to sort of consider. And I don't know if MLB would weigh that into their decision in terms of what business impact it would have on the sport. But at what point, like they would potentially need to draw a line and say, hey, we need to protect the overall integrity of the league. MLB is going to be around after Shohei Ohtanis retires, and so that's something that they would have to factor in. But again, the good news for the Dodgers and for Ohtani and for a lot of the fans that I see in our chat sort of concerned and panicking is every sign so far has been that Ohtani did not place the bets himself, that it was Ippei, and that's kind of where things stand at this point.
Yeah, it sounds like it's unlikely to go down that road. It's more, if he gets in trouble, it'll be more because he was helping out his friend or something like that, rather than he had direct involvement. And so that's certainly fortunate for the Dodgers. But let's talk a little bit about what this could mean for the Dodgers in the clubhouse. Like what this has the potential to be a distraction, right? Because now it's not going to be, wherever this story goes, it's going to be asked of a lot of the players. It's going to be asked, hey, what do you know about this? What are your thoughts on this situation? Is this impacting the way that your team is playing? How do you see the rest of the team responding here to what's going on?
Yeah, and some of that already happened a little bit out in Korea. Blake, like you alluded to, the videos we have up. One of them that Blake was part of was a press conference with Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who struggled in his MLB debut. To me, I took that as just more of, hey, he's coming over from Japan. There's a learning curve he's still sort of navigating. But in the press conference, Yamamoto was asked, did the situation with Ippei impact you? And I hadn't thought of that because I'm not looking at it that way. But like, to your point, this is a question that players are going to get asked. And he said, no, like that had no bearing on me. Dave Roberts was asked about his team's focus. He said, we're fine. We're here to play baseball. But yeah, I think, it could be a distraction. Unfortunately, I think the players are certainly going, if the situation is what it appears to be, where Ohtani was, for lack of a better term, kind of taken advantage of, teammates are going to feel for him and feel bad. But then, yes, they're going to be asked questions about, hey, did you know? Are you shocked? And this and that. And that's not something they want to do. The other thing, too, is Ohtani has not publicly addressed this yet. And I'm not sure if he's planning to, when he's planning to do that. It could be potentially as early as Sunday when the Dodgers are back at home, unless the team is going to call, an unscheduled press conference between now and then, which I wouldn't really anticipate. But the longer Ohtani doesn't necessarily address it, even if he just stands there and says, look, this is a private matter. MLB is investigating it.
Yeah.
There's a federal investigation. I can't really comment right now. Even if he does that, like, I think that'll help ease things. But if he doesn't, and he's been known to be, a little hesitant with media, although I want to give him credit in his first spring training and first year with the Dodgers. He's been great. I thought he's done media more than I sort of anticipated. But yeah, it certainly could be kind of an unwanted and unnecessary distraction for the team, unfortunately.
Now, this is kind of an aside. We mentioned Yamamoto. I've had a few questions here in the chat already asking about this, but not exactly a great Dodgers debut. It was the wee hours of the morning, so it's all pretty hazy for me. But if I remember correctly, he gave up like 5 runs in an inning. Is that cause for concern? Are you worried about him at all, or is this just a opening start jitters and he's going to be just fine?
I'm not too concerned yet. I anticipated that he would probably take a month to 2 months maybe to sort of acclimate himself to being an MLB pitcher. And I think if there is one reason, though, to be concerned is that he reiterated again that his struggles came from being uncomfortable pitching out of the stretch. And that was something he expressed in spring training after he struggled in one of his starts. He said, I just couldn't get comfortable from the stretch. And so my concern is, okay, like, what is going on to cause that? Like, have you guys been able to address it? Is there a fix? Is there something that could be done? Because that's different than, hey, I just need to get used to like a new baseball, or I had some nerves. It was my first game.
Yeah, that's going to be something certainly to keep, obviously a big piece of the Dodgers this season. So obviously something to keep an eye on. Richard chimes in. MLB will suspend Ohtani right after they force the Astros to take down their 2017 World Series banner. Not going to happen. Yeah, that banner should be in the proverbial trash can somewhere that they can bang on all they want. But yeah, I agree. I really do think, and this is again fairly outsider opinion here. Baseball is not my primary focus, but it doesn't seem like this is going to be doom and gloom, the end of Ohtani or anything like that. But nonetheless, given how big of a star he is and how much he means to this team, this is going to be something that we're going to have to monitor all the way through and see what exactly happens. What actions does MLB take, if any? And then where does this investigation lead? I mean, we've already seen some twists and turns in here. So what ultimately comes out and what this might mean for the Dodgers season, this is all, this is going to be a big deal, I think, for in the coming weeks and maybe months here, because investigations, sometimes they take a little while.
Yeah, definitely. And MLB is they're not going to rush this. And obviously federal is complete. They have no sympathy or care for, the Dodgers standpoint. They're not going to feel like, oh, we need to wrap this up because the Dodgers are in the middle of their season. Every investigation, everybody involved, both legal and from MLB standpoint, is going to take the necessary time and not rush this, and deservedly so. Like there's no reason to be just want to be kind of quick with it for no reason.
Kevin wants to know, will this affect the season overall or their World Series chances?
I mean, as long as Ohtani is available, no. But if he faces any sort of lengthy suspension, it could potentially, because then at that point, the Dodgers are having to fill his production, which you're not going to do. Like Ohtani literally is one of one. And the Dodgers didn't, because he can only DH this season and not pitch, they didn't sign another designated hitter type bat to replace him with. So like last year, that was obviously JD Martinez. This year, they're planning on Ohtani basically making, all but maybe a handful of starts as the DH. And so the ripple effect would be interesting. But I think overall, as long as he's available, that they'll be fine. Because eventually the distraction aspect should wear off, right? If it's just, this investigation is going on. In June, people will probably be forgetting about it. It's fresh in everybody's mind right now. They're going to get questions right now, but it'll become kind of the norm to players too. Like they won't be worried about whatever's happening. And I'm sure, honestly, internally, there have been conversations of, teammates just saying, hey, like, going up to Ohtani to one, be there for him. Cause like I said, this is his close friend. It's not just an interpreter.
Right.
And two, just, kind of asking like, hey, what happened type thing and getting the story. And so it should be fine.
This is maybe a little bit ironic given the story, but did the line move at all for the Dodgers winning the World Series? I didn't look.
That's a good question. I haven't seen anything about it yet. So I think that's further indicate, what's the old quote, Vegas always knows, right? So if I haven't seen any reports of the line moving significantly against them, and so that's even more reason to believe that Ohtani should be okay.
Yeah, typically, and we see this across sports, usually somebody knows something in Vegas. And so you'll see before big news comes out, the lines will move, and it kind of gives you a little hint that something's going on. But again, ironic given the way that this story is unfolding here. But Matt, before we sign off here, any other angles of this story that we should discuss?
No, I mean, I think we covered everything. I hope, unfortunately, there's a ton of layers and different twists and turns that have seemingly happening, day to day. And so it is a complex matter. And, I am seeing some of the comments, people saying that Ohtani will be suspended just because MLB, they can't look the other way. That's a reasonable stance to take. I still, if that does happen, I don't think it would be a lengthy one by any means. Again, with the information that is public that we have right now. And of course, there's always the opportunity for more info to come to light, and it could end up changing kind of what the course of action, I think, ends up being the case.
Yeah. And of course, the guys here at Dodger Blue will be all over this story, covering everything as it breaks, and everything that is unveiled about this whole investigation. We'll be all over it. But again, thank you everybody who came in, who joined us. Make sure that if you're not a subscriber to the channel yet, that you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications as well. Hit that thumbs up and like this video. Once again, the guys at Dodger Blue, nobody does it like they do. Matt, hey, thank you again for letting me come and talk a little baseball. This was a lot of fun to get to I don't know, move out of basketball for a little bit and chat some baseball with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, and I wish we could give you a little bit of a softer landing than a huge scandal like this. But one quick thing too, I did see a question. We're not going to be going live tonight. So fortunately, Trevor and I were able to do this one. Like I alluded to at the beginning of the show, we have some conflicting schedules going on. So we won't be live, but Trevor and Lakers Nation are definitely still doing their Lakers coverage. That's not impacted. But on the Dodger Blue side, we should be back with you guys for our usual live show on Sunday night.
You know what that means you can do is you can come hang out with us during Lakers 76ers tonight, 7:30 Pacific time, opening tip. We're going to be live over on playback.tv/Lakers Nation. We'll also be live on the Lakers Nation YouTube channel, youtube.com/Lakers Nation. Come hang out with us. We're going to talk basketball throughout the night. It's a good time. So in lieu of Dodger Blue being on, come join us. Come over to the other side, hang out. We'll talk some basketball and we'll have a good time. So come hang out with us for that. But again, thank you, everybody, for coming in. We appreciate all of you. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.